Welcome into Bobby Carpenter Show, and my goodness, we have our old friend back, released from the Woody Hayes, hanging out now somewhere Jacksonville, Circleville. No one knows all the vills, all around. We get to welcome in our guy, Mr. Anthony Schlegel. How are we doing today, sir?
Brother, it's great to be back. It's been a blessing. Yeah, I'm in Circleville, Ohio, around town, Pickaway County. Absolutely love it down here, and just had the family up for Farmerpalooza, where before they get into school, my oldest son has a bunch of friends here, and he brought up a couple of his buddies from Jacksonville because I wanted to take them to the Armory and test them on some sports science stuff, just so I could kind of see where their team was, if there was any kind of underlying things that they all had, which they're all different. So I was like, that really didn't help, but it was cool. So we trained then, and a lot of them never shot firearms before. So I introduced them to shooting firearms, and they fished, and it was great, man. They had bonfires, and I'm sleeping because I'm doing train like a Buckeye at the Armory. And so I'm like, I got to get to bed. And all of a sudden I hear like, hey, we're going to start a bonfire. I'm like, go Bucks, like have at it. And they did. And one time I got woken up because one of the kids shot a frog and wanted to have some frog legs. So of course my 12-year-old YouTubes it, skins it. They all wake me up. I'm like, all right, we're going to make sure this is good. And we cooked it. They ate it, making memories. I mean, that's what it's all about. And
Wait,
just glad to be back with you, my man.
that's amazing that they shot a frog and YouTubed frog legs. Oh, that's a
That's
beautiful
Sam.
thing.
That's my 12-year-old, right? He's like, oh, I got this. Don't worry about it, right? And and I would say this too, for everybody, that was why I was gone, is I was helping Ohio State football. They had one of my good friends was down. I was on the staff, and I had to step in a little bit, and it was an honor that I was able to do so and get to work with the young men that everybody's been listening to over the last couple months. And it just was not be appropriate for me to be talking about them, but I have a great perspective. And it was awesome to be next to Coach Mick and the great strength staff that they have, but also to be able to watch the coaches, but more importantly, being able to be around the young men that everybody should be very, very proud of, that represent the Ohio State University and the great state of Ohio, because I absolutely love them. The brotherhood is as strong as ever, which were some of the things that you and I talked on this show last year, Bob, about this. And I'm like, I tell you what, man, it resonates to me in the brotherhood as to where it was with us. Like, I mean, that's what I see. That's what I was able to see on a day-to-day basis. And I cannot wait for this camp to get started.
Absolutely. And it's interesting now in this NIL world, transfer portal world, where everybody thinks like, oh, it's going to destroy the locker room. And there was an interesting quote from Mac Brown, who longtime coach at Texas, now back in North Carolina. He's around Tress's age, and he's got a unique perspective. And I was talking to him on Sirius XM one day, and he goes, honestly, this is the happiest locker room we've ever had. He's like, in all my years of coaching, he goes, because the guys don't want to be here, they just leave. He's like, and you don't want all that, but you don't have people that are there like, well, I have to sit out and there's this and that. So guys just leave. And so the guys that are there want to be there, and they want to be there for the right reasons. And so I think you're seeing that here. And we'll get into some more of that, Schlegs, because we've got two great examples of it. We've got the Styles brothers coming up. Lorenzo first, then Sonny, and Lorenzo was at Notre Dame, transferred back. Both Pick Central guys. You got Jack Sawyer from Pick North, Ty Hamilton from Pick Central. A lot of Central Ohio guys, and so kind of what that means to them in that brotherhood and how all that works. They've got camp starting up on Thursday. So we'll get into that. We've got our tailgate talk, questions from listeners brought to you by Garage Beer. But first, they have Big Ten Media Days. I believe it was Jack Sawyer, Emeka Ibuka, and to the third. Oh gosh,
was it G?
No, it wasn't G. It was oh goodness, it was another defensive guy, I want to say.
Talik?
No, it was. It'll come to me in a second. It was Jack. It was I want to say a defensive back.
Probably either. It's probably Denzel.
It wasn't late. It wasn't Lathan. Because I thought that would be it. We'll get into that.
I saw Denzel. Yeah, man.
No, it was Denzel. You're right. Good job, Schlegs. Locked on. Denzel Burke was there. So those three guys, and very honest dudes. And honestly, everyone but Emeka, both Denzel and Jack had been on the program. Maybe Emeka here at some point in time, but they have the Big Ten poll that comes out where the media ranks, votes who's going to be, first and second. Only two teams receive first place votes, Ohio State and Oregon. Ohio State receiving 21 first place votes, the favorite to win the conference. Oregon second, Penn State third, Michigan, Iowa, and USC coming in at 6th. Is it possible, Schlegs, for there to be more pressure on this team? Ryan Day has talked about it. Every person that talks to me when I interview is Ryan Day on the hot seat. Is it pressure this, pressure that? I'm like, the head coach at Ohio State. Like, there's always going to be pressure. Like, I don't know. Pressure is a privilege, and we've heard these guys talk about that. But I don't think that this kind of changes anything that you would have expected.
Not from a poll. They
Yeah.
already have the expectations already. And again, they had the expectation to be the very best in the country when they all decided to stay. And that's what everybody, I think sometimes, like, as you lead up, is it starting to build? No, man. They've been living with this expectation since after the season, and they decided to stay. They want to rectify it, man. There's a reckoning coming. And that's even in the weight room, man.
Not revenge.
No, there's a reckoning, right? And here's the deal, man. Leave no doubt, take them out. Like, the mindset has to be different. And this is what happens when you have veteran guys on the team. It does not have to be close. It does not have to be close. Leave no doubt, take them out every single play. That goes into the winter conditioning. It goes into the summer conditioning. That leads into camp. But that happens when you have a veteran team that wants to be able to go out there week in and week out and show what they're capable of doing. And so Ryan Day knows what he has in the room. The guys know what they have in the room. They're working toward it. And now comes the reality of camp. Let's freaking go.
I mean, Schlegs, I thought for sure when I dropped the reckoning and I said not revenge, the Doc Holliday quote I feel like was lost on you, which is very, very disappointing because you're the guy. I mean, you're Captain Tombstone himself. I thought you were going to give me an "I'll be your Huckleberry." Like,
no,
what are we doing?
I knew that's exactly where you're going, but I wanted just to make the point that the mindset that I was able to witness about these young men in there, along with their coaches, and the urgency in which they coach and the urgency in which they train and have attention to detail that I know guys have talked about, that is a little bit different. And again, one thing that we've had in the past is you've had some attrition of guys that didn't stay their entire career. Now you have guys that are staying. One of the reasons that Michigan was successful last year was they had 44 seniors on the team. It's a very, very heavy senior-led group of individuals that know what it takes because they were there when what they had didn't take. So now they know what they have to rectify. They're training accordingly, and now you got fall camp coming up. And that's what I am the most excited about, is actually watching this play out in color, right? In person.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to talk to two of those guys. We got Lorenzo Styles here coming up next, followed by Sonny. Sonny, you're going to want to stay tuned to hear what they have to say right here on the Bobby Carpenter Show. All right, welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and we've got a double dose today. We've got both the Styles brothers. We're going to have Sonny coming up next, but first we have Lorenzo Styles, Pick Central graduate here from Central Ohio, started his career Notre Dame, now with the Buckeyes and doing some big things. Lorenzo, how's this summer been going for you, man?
Summer's going really well. It's going well at me as an individual, but together as a team as well. We've grown closer, so excited for fall camp to start up.
Lorenzo, I want to ask you this because you just brought up something. One, how is it going well for you individually? And then two, expand upon the brotherhood, the team, and like how some of the things that you've done in that training have brought you guys closer together.
I'll start with myself first. So I think Coach Day talked about it a little bit, but I think I'm going to get to be a little bit more dynamic this year. Last year I redshirted, so this year I'm really up. I'm ready to make some plays. Whether that might be on offense. I know Coach Day and Coach Kelly were talking about me a little bit there, as well as the nickel, doing stuff in that dime package, nickel rotating in with Jordan Hancock. We got a great secondary right there. And it's honestly just learning the defense and learning what my assignment is and how to execute that at the highest level for the team. Also, like, working out wise, I feel like I'm in like some of the best shape I've been. Like, numbers wise, I've been testing really well. Coach Mick, all the coaches, Coach KP, they've been getting me right this summer. And then looking at the team, talking about those workouts, we've been through a lot together. We've been through some hard stuff. And I think all that adversity we've been through in the workouts, I think that's going to translate over to the season, because there's going to be some tough times, and that's when we have to really buckle down and go hard together. And I think since we were able to grind that hard together and put in the work now, it's going to pay off later.
So one of the things, the workouts, Coach Mick gets creative with some of the conditioning. We've talked to a lot of guys about it. I know a favorite conditioning finisher is the fan bikes competition, winner, loser. How do you feel like you do on the fan bikes? I've heard that some of these guys are pretty elite. And who's the guy you typically go against the most, and how you like that?
So I had the surgery at first. I mean, well, like going into this summer camp or whatever, summer ball, and so I was competing on the bike with one arm. So that was tough. So I was still trying to compete, put numbers up, and I was still getting some wins though. I was still getting some wins, but now I'm all the way back. So I was going through some comp. We had our bike sprint tournament. I ended up losing in the final 8, so that kind of hurt a little bit. But I feel like I was competing real well. That kind of kills your legs just because you're going so hard and I'm almost out of breath, couldn't breathe. So it's definitely a way to get us in shape for sure.
So that's the beauty of it that I don't think people understand, and they don't put a lot of stuff out there about Ohio State football and what they do in the weight room, which I love. And people don't need to see what it is. It's about you guys. But
Yeah.
the competition aspect, even though you're injured, guess what? You're still competing.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about like when that's going down, right? So you guys might have 3 guys on the bike. What is Coach Mick telling you guys when you're resting? Tell everybody like what that is, right? So it's not just about you going, it's about what's next. What is that, Lorenzo?
So at first you got it like the posture you have, like you always have to be ready to go. You can't be bent over. You can't be everyone's hurt, everyone's dying, but you have to be ready to go. I think it's also motivating your teammate. Even when you're really tired, you gotta be there to support your guy and tell him to push himself and go as hard as you can go. So we do these things. So we have squads. So it kind of matters like for the placement, like where everyone on your team places and how well they do, because then your squad gets more points. So even though you might be tired as heck, you gotta tell the dude to push himself so you guys can win together as a collective group.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's fun watching the pods. I know they're getting really competitive. Guys go back and forth. I get your pod captains and everything, and guys are diving in on that. You mentioned the shoulder, surgery going at it with one arm. I know a lot of guys, so they've been getting into golf. Like if we kind of caught that golf bug. I know Lathan talked about it. He said he was terrible, but he's working at it. I mean, what are some of the things you guys been getting together in the off season?
One thing we've been doing a lot, like outside of the football space, something that I enjoy, we've been playing pickleball. So I've been playing with the guys probably for like 3 or 4 times this summer. And pickleball, it gets competitive, but it's kind of better than like you see dudes sometimes get hurt with like basketball. Like I think golf and like pickleball and stuff like that, where it's a little less toned
Yeah,
down, but you still get
old people
better.
sports. So that's what
I
you're
would say
talking
old
about.
people, yeah, where it's still competitive, but it's not as taxing on the body.
And do you know all the rules to pickleball? Like, I mean, are you frequently getting in the kitchen when you should not be? Like, do you have like a certain
Hitting
specialty serve? Can you spin it a little bit? Do you watch film on like high elite people playing pickleball? Do you have your own paddle?
I do have my own paddle, so I have
Big time.
most of the guys don't have paddles, so I made sure I got some paddles for the guys. I'm not on that elite level yet where I'm getting those $100 paddles. I still have like the cheap ones, like $30, $40 ones, but they will work. But I've been learning the rules a little bit. I started playing last year, and I've been trying to before I wasn't able to play for a little while, so I was just watching film, visualizing how I'm gonna beat up on some of these guys when we get a chance. So I've been playing pretty well on the pickleball court so far, so going good.
nice. That's tremendous. So do you play? I mean, your dad, obviously former athlete. I mean, is this like a family affair? You playing with Sonny? You play with your dad? I mean, were you playing with just the other guys? What are we doing? Where are we going with that?
Well, so I would say for me, like a lot of the DBs are really close. So we do a lot of things together. So that's who I was with Lathan Ransom. You should see Davison. We call him
Oh,
IGB. IGB goes all in. He gets the headband on. He has the fit. Like he has all the stuff when we go out there. Caleb Downs was out there. We have a lot of miles. We have a lot of guys come and play with us. So it's always a good time.
Hey, talk about that BIA room. You know, I think you mentioned it earlier. It's a very, very special, very, very close group, very competitive group. And just tell everybody how you can have that type of bond and competitiveness, and everybody's still fighting for positions and playing time, but yet you can still go out there and have fun and these different experiences with each other. Because I don't think regular people, I don't think
Yeah.
people that are out there outside of the building understand that.
So like here at Ohio State, I mean, it's really a merit-based system. So like like the best players are going to play, and I truly believe that. I believe that everyone in our room believes that. So the work that you put in being able to enhance yourself enhances the room. So you have to be able to find where you add value at. And I think us like being able to hold each other accountable, because there's times like we're talking about those bike sprints where you might get beat up in a workout and you're ready just to go home, and someone's like, "Oh, now we got to go watch film. We got to do this," or et cetera. So I think having the accountability aspect, I think that's what holds BIA together, and then also like just the love for each other and the love for Ohio State. Um, this we try to kill all that selfishness, and everyone has to find their own role and create that, and then go from there.
Talk a little bit about your relationship with Jack Sawyer. I didn't realize this. You know, he's a Pick North guy, but he said you guys grew up playing, baseball together, some travel sports. I mean, have you guys always been pretty close?
Me and Jack have been friends since we were probably like 7 or 8 years old. So me and Jack go way back. We have a bunch of other Pickerton guys. Max Monaco is another guy I've been friends with for a while on the team. Ty Hamilton is another guy we played on like on our it was called PYA. It was like that local our local team around there growing up. So me like specifically me and Jack, I would say Jack's probably my best friend on the team if I'm being honest. Outside of that BIA room, and me and him been through a lot together, just through baseball, playing football together, always competing, being rivals growing up, or just going at it. And that's one dude I love a lot. I give a lot of like when I came to Ohio State, he helped my transition a lot because it was tough coming to a new place, finding my way, and he was definitely helped me navigate that.
All right. Well, before we get you out of here, we got your brother coming up next. Something that was really cool that you did. We're going to talk to him about it too, because he did it last year because he was, when he was here as well. The Huckleberry House and what you guys do in the part of that, helping, prevent and bring awareness to teenage homelessness here in Central Ohio.
Yeah, looking at the Huckleberry House, we've been working with them for the last 2 years, and they're just trying to work on the fight against youth homelessness. Looking at homelessness, like especially kids being in situations like that, they were born in situations like that. So being able to have resources for them to find their way out and be able to get back on the fast track, so they can have sustainable and a good life. So we just try to do our part in really helping the youth. Me and Sonny, that's something that resonates with us a lot. Really like looking at kids. We do try to do mental health speaking for the youth. We try to do like football camps, things of that nature, just because that's a really vulnerable community. So being able to try to give back to them and help them have the opportunities that we were fortunate to have and be in the position we are.
You're one of the best. We really appreciate you taking some time with us. Enjoy the couple days off here before the start of training camp, and I know you guys are excited to get that room rolling.
No doubt. Appreciate it. I'll see
All
you
right,
guys.
see you, man. Coming up next, we got Mr. Sonny Styles to join Bobby Carpenter show. Coming up next. All right, well, you just heard from Lorenzo Styles, and now welcoming his brother, also a Pick Central grad, Mr. Sonny Styles, moving from defensive back now down in the LB room. And I had to just listen to your brother talk about, the BIA room and how those guys are so tight and close. When they booted you down with the big dudes down in the box, like, are you still allowed to hang out with those guys now on the weekends?
Yeah, we still hang out a little bit. Yeah, I got to hang out with some of the guys this weekend actually, but still got some BIA running through my blood.
So you said you were up doing a little boating this weekend, and you're a Central Ohio guy. They've got a little bit of water here. You got Buckeye Lake, Alum Creek. So we got some of the DBs kind of cruising around, doing a little boating action.
Yeah, a little boat action. It was cool. Nice enjoying the last week before camp before we get going to work.
So how has this last summer been for you? I mean, you've had a lot of transition, right? So in spring football, you go from safety to linebacker. And then, the best part about that is when you have James in the room who's been there and done that, and then you also get to see the things that you need to work on. What were some of the things that you wanted to work on before going into camp after that spring football?
I think the biggest thing I noticed after spring was just footwork, and I think that's anyone who plays linebacker can always get their feet better. But I think that was a big thing I noticed. Kind of working on my eyes. Being safety to linebacker is a little different. It's closer, it's happening faster, so your eyes got to be even sharper. So that was something to work on. I like trying to pick Cody Simon's brain. He's played a lot of ball, so picking his brain, seeing what he's looking at in different plays and what's making him react so fast. So those are kind of the two main things I wanted to work on. Strike power and all that stuff is huge. I think I got pretty good strike, but you can always work on pad level, hands inside, things like that. But the biggest thing was feet and then eyes.
What's that? You mentioned Cody, and I think we had Mitch Melton on. I think he called him Cobot or Robot, Cody the Robot or something, because he's just so like locked in. His dad's a West Point guy, but What's that relationship been like? Because he's the veteran guy in the room, played a ton last year, really smart guy, as you know. I mean, how much has he helped you?
Yeah, he's helped me a lot. And Cody's got one of the most respected guys on the team. I think guys respect the way he carries himself, the way he works. And even though people say he's super serious, he's a funny guy too, though. He's not like super uptight or anything like that. He makes jokes. He's just like the rest of us. He's just really about his work. And yeah, that relationship for me, I've been trying to soak up information from like a sponge. He like I said, he's played a lot of ball. We got a young linebacker room. I think he's the only guy in the room that started at linebacker. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think he's the only guy in the room that started a linebacker. So he's the vet, carrying the most plays in the room right now. So I think we're all trying to kind of soak up information from him.
I noticed this too from spring football, and then until I stepped away. But I saw you watch him because every time in the line you guys were next to each other or right behind him. And you're right, Cody handles his business in a different way. That's authentically Cody, being a Jersey guy. God love him. But I saw that carry over to you, and honestly, I just watch your development, and I applaud you for the work that you put in because I got to see it firsthand. How is that in that room, being a young guy, as you go talk to those other freshmen? Does that put a little bit more on you about how you're handling your business maybe a little bit differently now from watching him? And if so, what are some of those intricacies that you've taken from his professionalism now to yourself leading into this camp?
Yeah, I think switching to the linebacker room, I think Cody helped me with my leadership in terms of kind of being able to hold guys accountable but doing it in the right way. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Sometimes you're trying to hold guys accountable, and then it gets to a little pissing match when you're arguing with each other. I think Cody does a good job holding guys accountable, and people respect him in the way he does it. So I think he made me a better leader in that aspect. And then I think seeing Cody come in every single day and do the small, little, minute details that you don't really pay attention to, I think that helped me in my leadership as well. So I think Cody really helped my leadership huge this off season. And I applaud him for that. I respect him. So yeah, I think he really helped me in that department.
Oh yeah, and one of the big elements of that, I know you guys got your pods, you've got winner loser, Mick is grading everything, keeping score with all of it. And I love talking to the guys about the fan bikes because it's a fun workout that everybody really, really loves. So we'll throw that out there. And your brother said that he finished in the final 8 in the fan bike tournament. Now, where did you finish in this?
I lost in the final 8 too.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, everyone. I was so mad about it. I'm not even gonna get into it. If you were in the program, you know what happened. I was pretty upset about that.
You know what the beautiful thing about that is about the fan bikes, besides like working ALAC capacity and stuff like that, is the fact that you might have a bad bike, right? But everybody's looking. I want everybody to understand, like Sonny, Lorenzo, like everybody's spilling it. One, there's a consequence if you lose. Two, you want to compete, everybody's seeing it. And then you might potentially get on a bike that's like, I don't know, you want to blame the bike, but like ultimately is this. Nobody cares, right, Sonny?
Yeah,
But
that's exactly what they told me.
regardless of what it tells, you know what? I don't want to talk about it because I live it and I am about it. Why don't you talk to him about that, right? And how that correlates to the game? Because I don't think people truly understand why the competitiveness in the weight room translates to the game of football when it matters.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a few young guys about this. Like, we do some ridiculous kind of competition. Like, how does picking up a 150-pound dumbbell and doing as many rows as you can correlate to football? And the way I always look at it, and the older guys in the program look at it, it's one-on-one competitions all across the field. So I think if you're making a routine of winning your one-on-ones, whatever it takes, whatever it is, if I gotta win my one-on-one by taking on the guard and getting off this block and making the play, or if I'm a DB, if I gotta win this one-on-one by getting the ball out downfield, every single play is a game of one-on-ones. So I think that's why all this training and all these competitions that we do correlate directly to football, because everything's a one-on-one. So you got to just make it a habit of giving whatever it takes to win your one-on-one.
So, speaking of one-on-ones, your brother was talking a little bit about pickleball. I know a lot of the guys have been getting into golf. Like, what are we doing after we leave the Woody? We pickleball, we golf, and are we any good at either?
I'm okay at pickleball. I played pickleball a few times. I haven't got to play with Lorenzo yet, though. I want to see how good he is. But yeah, we got a lot of guys golfing. Guys just started pickleball in like the last week or two for some reason. And we got a lot of guys playing that new NCAA game too.
So has that been fun? Have you got a chance to do that? Because that was something that, like we grew up doing, as a big
Right.
deal. And then you get to play yourself in the game, went away for 10 years. Like, is that pretty exciting for everybody to get back into that?
Yeah, it's definitely surreal. Surreal. I mean, the game's amazing. I think the best part about the game is just yourself in the game. Honestly, like not saying the game's a bad game or anything, but that's what got people so hyped up. Like I'm getting pick sixes with myself. It's crazy.
Tremendous. And before we get you out here, man, we loved you taking some time with us today. You and your brother, great ambassadors, not only of Ohio State, but Central Ohio as well. Um, we had you on a radio show. We were talking about you guys were sleeping outside. I think you did it this year at lower.com. Before you were down at COSI with the Huckleberry House, and talk a little bit about that and the impact of youth homelessness.
Yeah, I mean, I think youth homelessness, they talk about it's like an unseen problem that people don't really know about. There's a number, it's like thousands of kids that experience homelessness at some point throughout the year. And I think it was something that was introduced to us by our mom. And I think she really got me getting into it. And then now I'm excited to be able to find a way to give back to the community. And I think it's a great program and they do some great things.
Absolutely. We appreciate it, man. You do a great job out there. Enjoy your last couple of days off. I know you got rest and recovery. We look forward to seeing you out at camp. All right.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. Coming up
Appreciate it,
next, we
brother.
got more here on the Bobby Carpenter Show. All right, welcome back in. And my goodness, those guys were very impressive, both Sonny and Lorenzo. Great ambassadors, not only Central Ohio, like I said, but Ohio State as well. Tremendous young men. So very privileged to have them here. I'm sure one of those guys will be representing Ohio State in media days in the coming future. But Big Ten Media Days just wrapped up. And Coach Matt Rule, Schlegs of Nebraska, had some interesting line with the new 12-team expanded playoff called the Big Ten, the NFL of college football, and they should get 4 of the 12 spots basically every single year. Now, I think that they'll always get 3, but 4 is a pretty lofty ambition. Do you feel like that's correct?
Well, I'm going to disagree with him in this. I think the SEC and the Big Ten are the NFL of college football. And why is that? I just think it means more. I love what our president or our athletic director said about it. At some point, every time you go out, you got to show out. And if you're not putting the resources in
did Ross
Juicy
Stewart
J,
say Juicy
yeah,
J?
he didn't make a Juicy J reference. I just made it for him. But here's the deal, right? If you're a dirtbag type of team that doesn't want to invest in it, why are you in the freaking Big Ten? Especially if Matt Rule's going to go out and say that you're the NFL of college football. I mean, it has to mean more. And if your fan base doesn't want it to mean more, then guess what? GTFO. So that being said, I think the SEC and the Big Ten, and Matt's coming from an area to where he coached in the NFL. And I think part of that is the day-to-day operations and mindset of a player and of the coach of what is required to be a professional. Now you add in NIL into the mix. Yeah, you are a pro. You get paid to go play football and to go out there and represent your university. Yes, you still have to go to school, but the reality of the situation is they're professionals. So I think the SEC and the Big Ten are in that group. I'm excited to see teams get thrown out of the Big Ten at some point because we want great competition. If that is the case, then yes, you will get 4. Your point, Bob, right now, probably 3. And there's 4 teams that could potentially do that. There's some underlying things, but right now you got Ohio State, Oregon. Who's potentially the other one? I would say probably Penn State because they have Ohio State at home, but their other games aren't necessarily like that difficult that they have.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one. And then Iowa probably be the 4th, right? Because they got OSU and then they got Wisconsin at home, Nebraska at home, no Oregon, no USC, but their offense has always been terrible. Great defense. So to that stat that you read, all the top 5 teams, great defenses. For Iowa, it's just, can you actually like have an semblance of a decent offense?
I mean, they don't have to be good. They just can't be bad.
They can't be like what they were, man.
They were the last. They were the last in yards per game by like 30 yards. I mean, it wasn't even close. I mean, you're talking about teams like Army and Air Force, teams that run the triple option and run like their play count isn't very high, that still have like 20 yards more, 30 yards more than average than them in the game. Crazy. You know what's interesting? Michigan, they lost a lot, and so it's going to be interesting to see how Sharon Moore handles this first season. But they have a very difficult schedule. I
Yeah,
think
they do.
if they ended up like 9-3, and I think they play Texas. Like, let's just say, for
They
instance, like
do
they beat
at the big
Texas to
house.
open. Yeah, beat Texas to open the season. If they did that and then like lost 3 Big Ten games, I think they're a team that could be that fourth place team that would get in there. Because if you have that big non-conference win against another playoff team from one of the big two conferences now, like that, it's going to be hard to overlook that. And then I think also the team with the biggest delta, Schlegs, I mean, you're a business guy, the biggest uh, variability in what they could be, I think, is USC. Like, I
For
know
sure.
Iowa is going to probably win 8 or 9 games. 10 might be a stretch, but I know they're not going to win six. I could see USC going 6-6. I could see USC going 10-2, maybe 11-1. Like, if their defense is good and their offense looks like it could be, and they like find a way to win games instead of finding a way to lose them late, they have a huge variation. So that's one of the teams that I'm keeping an eye on too, where you
Yeah,
want to get a bead to see how that offense looks, to see if they're consistent or they turn it over a lot. And then if that defense has gotten any better, because that
that's
was
the
the
thing.
problem. They couldn't stop it. I mean, they couldn't do anything last
Yeah,
year.
yeah. Coach Lynn. Coach Lynn's coming in on a defense. Yeah, I think I agree with you, Bob. I think Lincoln Riley is always going to have a great offense. That's what he does at a high level. And they got really good skill position. But can they have a defense that can actually stop somebody? That's the biggest question.
Well, and you know this, it's complementary football. Like,
For sure.
you don't want to be putting your defense out there. Yeah, you may go have 500 yards of total offense and score 5 touchdowns, but you also threw 2 interceptions in your half of the field.
Yeah.
So while you put up a lot of points, you also put your defense in some bad spots. So the complementary football, some of the things like that, like those are some of the things that I'm going to be interested to see if Lincoln Riley can be actually a head coach and not just that offensive coordinator.
That's a great point. And I think, you know what,
I
from what
make
I was
good
able to
points.
witness, I know you do. I think that that's one of the greatest things that's transpired at Ohio State is the fact that you have Chip Kelly there, somebody that Ryan Day unequivocally trusts to run the offense that allows Ryan to take more of a 30,000-foot view, develop coaches, be in every single moment of the game while also giving other guys autonomy to go do what they're paid to do. And I think that, with Chip, and on the defensive side of the ball, like, and also the special teams, like he's being able to see everything to get it to where he wants to get it. And that's the one thing to your point about Lincoln Riley. Like, is he going to be able to do that while also being the head coach, all the other things that he has on his plate?
Absolutely. We will find out here shortly. But up next, we got Tailgate Talk brought to you by Garage Beer, where we answer your questions here on the Bobby Carpenter Show. All right, welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show. And now we get Tailgate Talk. Tailgate Talk is brought to you by our friends at Garage Beer. Yeah, right here. Garage Beer. It's the perfect beer for you all summer long for all your get togethers. Cookout, Garage Beer. Family reunion, Garage Beer. Doing yard work, Garage Beer. Hanging out in your garage, drink some Garage Beer. So go buy some Garage Beer. It's beer flavored beer and Schlegs. You can see some right over my little shoulder, right over my left ear, right there. All right, we got some questions for you. Firing away. Is this a do or die season reliant upon the O-line coach and their ability to get it going? We're talking about Coach Fry there on the offensive line. I think the two questions for this team have kind of been quarterback, and that's been well documented, which we'll get into here in a minute. Offensive line, though, that right side, the guard tackle, I think everyone realized that Fryer's going to play one of the spots, but who's going to be the other guard or tackle? And I think that's going to be incumbent upon Fryer to see if he can produce that guy and how will they develop them during the season.
Well, the overall thing of everything going into this year with the extended playoff is always going to be depth. But then if you look at, that offensive line, there's Seth, center, Carson, right? Then you got Luke Montgomery, you got Tegra, you have Ian Moore, that's a freshman that I really, really like. You have the Armstrong twins, young guys, depth, right? But it's really who's going to be that. I honestly believe that Fryer's probably going to play tackle. Who is the guard? And that's kind of what's up in the air. But again, when you talk about development, guys, we're going into a thing where you're going to play 12 games, you're going to play a playoff. So you have to have depth, and you have to have depth that you can count on because you're always going to have something. So it's how do you develop the depth, but also who's going to be that guy that wants to be an alpha, wants to be a mauler. Like that's what kind of Donnie is. Donnie's kind of that guy.
Yep.
That's what we want to see at the other guard spot too. right? Because you have two potentially really talented centers. I want to see who the mauler is going to be. That's what I want. And it's not do or die, guys. It's not do or die because you also forget this. You got a guy named Chip Kelly that knows how to run offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chip's as good as anybody about putting guys in positions that be successful. So you're not going to, whoever's starting a guard or tackle, however that looks, you're not going to ask that guy to do something he can't do well. You're going to find ways to tailor that offense, to tailor the blocking to whatever the strengths they have while trying to hide some of their weaknesses. Another question coming in, huge Devin Brown fan. Do you feel he's been given a real shot, or is it going to be Howard simply due to NIL? With how well Devin Brown did, I guess, at the Palmer camp, I know he's putting in the work. And everybody kind of, thinks like, with NIL and Will coming in, that it's a foregone conclusion. I don't think that that's the case. I mean, the coaches are entitled, they owe it to the rest of the team to play the best player at that position, regardless of what NIL looks like or anything else. And you can't fool the room. Those guys are going to want to see the best player out there. I think Ryan would probably like to name a starter midway through camp, probably 2 weeks in, but that guy has to reveal himself. And I know that he's praying that one of those guys separates and so that everybody can see it and the decision is easy.
Yeah, you saw it even in the spring football, right? JJ as a wide receiver, I mean, it's put him on the shelf, guys are saying, right? Yeah. It's the same thing with this one. I mean, and I want everybody out there to know NIL, right? That's pennies, right? We're talking about like TV, like that's nothing, right? We want to acquire talent. They do it in the NFL all the time, but the best players are going to play, just so you know. Now, there might be a little discrepancy between a guy that I'm paying $10 million in the NFL and a guy that's, making league minimum that's could potentially better. They're going to probably pay the guy that's making 10 million. Okay. But I'm going to say this with what these guys make. Guess what? They're going to play the best people because why? Ryan Day's job's on the line. The coaching staff's job's on the line. The players and everything they came back for is on the line. They want the best dude to play. And I'm with you, Bob. Guess what? Right? Should get off the pot. Let's set ourselves up that I'm the man. That's what I want to be revealed. Whoever it is, I'm that alpha. Go lead this team. I don't care who it is, but to your point about Ryan, he wants to make that decision early.
Yeah. Lastly, Deshaun Foster, first-time head coach, Schlegs, a guy that's around our age, UCLA. Usually coaches open up, nice long, like 5 to 10 minute monologue. His was like a minute 15 of just, we're really excited. We're UCLA. We're at a school located in Los Angeles with USC, and we're joining the Big Ten. It was about a minute and change of a little bit of, I wouldn't say incoherent rambling, but there was really no point to any of it. It was pretty amazing to kind of watch. I had to go back and watch it again because I was just so overwhelmed that I wouldn't say underprepared, but usually have a little bit of something to say.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of some other people from California, right? It's like, I'm so excited about the excitement that's exciting.
Yes.
About the excitement we have. Hey, matter of fact, there's two teams in LA. We're from LA. It's UCLA, but I want to make sure everybody knows that we're from UCLA and LA. That's where UCLA resides. And we're excited about the excitement of being in LA with exciting things happening. Here's the deal. He wasn't prepared. You're in the Big Ten now, man. I hope that you're more prepared come Saturdays than you were at the Big Ten Media Day. Cause he just walked out there. I mean, honestly, Bob, you could walk out there and say, hey, Bobby Carpenter, you're the keynote speaker, man. You can rattle crap off all the time. If you're the head football coach, just talk about your value proposition, talk about your guys, talk about your culture, because you're spinning that every single day. Who cares? But it's like, we're excited about the excitement and the excitement about it.
But here's the thing, Schlegs. I mean, do they talk about that every day? If you can't just go to it, that would lead me to believe that maybe that's not something that you take for granted, that like at Ohio State and other programs, you're doing that all the time. I don't know if they are. Like, we'll see. They got an uphill battle. Chip Kelly came over from there. I know that I don't know how much it actually matters to the people out there. I know the players and coaches it does, but as far as university and the fans, we'll see about UCLA. But definitely an interesting opening statement there, and welcome to the Big Ten, if you will, for Deshaun Foster. All right, coming up, we'll close up the show. Hulkamania visiting Detroit. Oh, we'll have to see what happens there. Find out next on the Bobby Carpenter Show. All right, final segment of the program here. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. Like, subscribe, leave comments. Love going through and reading the comments. Get a little comment wars going on sometime, Schlegs. It's a lot of fun to kind of go through there and read them before I go to bed in the evening. Um, Camp can be a little monotonous sometimes. Training camp can get a little of a grind. So coaches, you see them on Hard Knocks in the NFL. And it's the same in college. You try to church up, bring in a magician, a comedian, do some fun stuff. Well, our guy Dan Man Campbell brought in Hulkamania. That's right, Hulk Hogan, visiting the Lions training camp to help cut a promo. Schlegs, listen up, brother, and they were ready to go. And I saw that. There's no two dudes who would be more compatible than our guy, Mr. Hulk Hogan, and Dan Campbell. And I'm so glad that happened.
Yeah, I mean, and you have to do those type of things, and it goes right with their culture. I actually saw Spielman up at the Armory because his son Noah is now a strength coach for Ohio University, and we were just talking about Dan Campbell and what he's about. And I mean, the guy is hardcore, but he also knows how to like liven it up, make it fun, not make it about him, make it about the players, and they absolutely love him. And it's that tough love that you hear at Ohio State. It's the exact same thing there. And you can still do that with professionals just like you can all college athletes. But he knows exactly what he's doing. Look, they went to the playoffs last year. And it's camp, man. Camp is its own unique thing, things that you remember even when you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, doesn't matter.
Well, at the end of it, man, all players really want is transparency and honesty.
Yeah.
Like, help me get to be better and then be honest with me about where I'm at and what I need to do.
Absolutely.
Like, and that's Dan to a T. He comes off as the meathead and he plays the role perfectly, but he's really smart and his players love him because he's honest with them. He's been there, he knows it, he understands it. And when you can do that and have that type of authentic relationship, and everybody knows it's a business, and he's not going to pretend that it's not. And I'm going to tell you why it is, but also I'm going to tell you how to help you. And I think he got a lot of that from Bill Parcells because Bill was always that way, always very frank and candid. And sometimes what he'd say would sting, but he was going to be truthful about where you stood, and guys always respected that.
Yeah, I'd rather have a truth teller than somebody that just, beat around the bush and didn't give me the information that I need to know to be able to have a career, to have a profession in the NFL. And that's, again, one of his greatest attributes and why guys want to play with him. And he also thinks about them. He knows what camps was like. So let's go get somebody like Hulk Hogan, and let's do a little promo video.
Absolutely. Tremendous stuff there. A bunch of other stuff that they're looking at the 18-game schedule in the NFL now, stretching all the way to President's Weekend. Got college football season going to be incredibly long. It's, you know, is there a chance that we'll ever see too much football in America? It's like that it might get, people might get bored, not bored of it, but just be inundated too much.
Biggest thing is this: if the product is elite, they're going to want more. And there's that fine line when does it become watered down, like to where guys are missing games and I purchased a ticket and I'm not seeing the best guys out there. I mean, you could go to 18, just eliminate a preseason game, go to 2 and then play 18. But the biggest thing is then you're going to have like the injuries, right? You're adding another game, and it's not really the contact injuries. It's more the soft tissue injuries that hold people back because you don't have the guys in the building all the time in the NFL like you do in college football. I think right now in college, you have a good little balance with the 12. And in the NFL, it's all about making more money that should be distributed to all the players.
Absolutely. Well, Schlegs, we appreciate you coming back, man. I was excited to have you on here today. Great show with the Styles brothers. Covered a lot of ground. We appreciate it. Folks, thank you for tuning in. Keep on watching. Keep it locked in here on the Bobby Carpenter Show. Make sure we tune in next week as camp is starting, and it's going to be a good season.